if you look at, you make 90% of your money as an athlete from age 20 to 30. You take average career is 5.5 years, and from the 750 players in Major League Baseball, less than 5% have a college degree. So I'm not a stockbroker, but if you just take that information alone, I would short the stock.
100%.
And then we go back to what you're talking about. Warren Buffett has made more money after the age of 60 than before, right? And I think the opportunity for an entrepreneur, there's been no better time to be an entrepreneur than today. What you guys are doing at Barstool, what you're doing with Gary, I mean, I love your story about radio, TV, and now it's digital.
That's right.
And one question that I'm really passionate about is obviously baseball.
Yes.
We have some challenges. While the economy has been great, and we've gone from $1 billion when I signed in 1994 to $10 billion, and Commissioner Manfred has said in the next 5 years he wants to take it to 15. Now, NBA is at 16 billion, just so we have a little comparison. So we're at 10 going to 15 billion. However, the average fan is a 58-year-old white guy. That's a challenge. The average game is ending around 11:30 at night. That's a challenge. If you're commissioner and you can just put everything on pause for 12 months, tomorrow morning is your first day in the office, 8 o'clock. Tell me the first 3 things you start doing.
I unwind the culture of BAM. So I don't know if you saw this, either one of you, but I've recently finally publicly given my 2 cents on this thing because listen.
I know what BAM is, but maybe explain
I'll
what
explain
you're
in a
talking
meeting.
about.
It's so recently, obviously, Commissioner came out and had a couple of words to say, like, I need Trout's help too. I lost my shit. I lost it because it's, in business terms, here's what Major League Baseball has done over the last decade. They've taken short-term economics at scale by creating BAM, which is baseball's media group, run by Bowman in the past, not anymore, I think, which is right. They
just sold to Disney.
That's right. They a decade ago, what a lot of people thought was smart is they put up big walls, garden walls, where like you couldn't find baseball content on the internet unless baseball itself had its hand in it, and they were able to monetize, right? They got all the revenue. None of these, there was no Mike Trout fan 57 posting stuff because baseball was coming in like fucking the USSR and saying, yo, where's our tax? What that did over the last decade, in my opinion, is allowed for the explosion of basketball for many reasons. Look, Javier Baez is charismatic as fuck.
Electric.
Electric as a human being, as a player.
Allen Iverson-like.
100%. In a world where Latino and Hispanic growth in America is exploding, they should be putting a cannon behind him being found everywhere. Do you know how many good-looking baseball players are dating supermodels? A lot. Let me save everybody time. None of these relationships are in Instagram Explore. What baseball has done over the last decade is they've closed down all their digital awareness and made money off of it, which made it harder to find, which made a lot of these kids not find it. It's not free-flowing on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter. And what it's done is it's created a culture. Look, I think the most fascinating case study in baseball is Bryce Harper. If you're a real baseball fan or if you're following culture, that kid came into the league with swag on swag on swag. I mean, like a pop-out, he would be on third base. The system, not the argument a lot of people want to make, which is the veteran catcher pulled him aside. Yes, part of it is veteran catcher says, yo, kid, let's not punk there's rules that are hidden here. The entire system has siphoned a lot of Bryce's enormous charisma. And now what we're left with is boring commercials on TV with baseball players, no digital assets. So day one, I would open up the floodgates. I would encourage fans to make unlimited content, podcasts, videos, and would allow for a lot more of the natural content to flow. And I would call a summit literally the first moment I can. If it's tomorrow, I'd wait to November, literally wait for the season to end and create an open invite. And literally the invite would be the following. I would get the owners on board, rally them, be like, hey, you fucking hired me for a year. This is what I'm gonna bring to you. And I would literally systematically send out an email to the Players Union and say, if you're charismatic, if you want it, if you want money, advancement, entrepreneurship, if you want your name in the lights, I've got a time slot for you starting November 1st. And I would reverse engineer. I don't want to force Mike Trout to not be who Mike Trout is.
Right.
You have to reverse engineer the individual.
Yeah.
You and I had a very late night meeting the first time we met, right?
Yeah.
And one of the first things I said to you was like, just have to reverse engineer you. Where are you at this point in your life? Same thing I would do with them, right? Francisco Lindor, on and on and on.
So I have a question because it is actually perfect because there's not two better people in the world to answer this. So you brought up the point about the system kind of beating it out of the players. I have always had a theory that is just the nature of baseball, the nature of 162 games, the nature of having to stand in front of the media every single day, the nature of an 18-year-old going to minor leagues. And think about it, right? Like an 18-year-old in basketball, he's in the NBA basically right away. He goes to college for 3 months, whatever. In baseball, you're in the minor leagues for 3-4 years.
Not a lot of the stars, right?
But you're also talking to the media every day and basically getting it beaten out of you. Where how can you answer the same question every day? So you almost become a robot. I don't know if that theory is right.
I couldn't disagree with that more.
But I mean, you obviously lived it. Like when you were in front of the media every day. Does it eventually get to a point where it's like, I'm going to shut down because anytime I say something that's even a little bit of a fire spark.
The thing that's most exciting is A-Rod didn't have the luxury of the world we now live in.
Yeah.
16-year-old Chris Sale that's coming up the ranks right now, he knows. I mean, look, especially with the political climate where the president, obviously, people either agree or disagree very, very heavily on this, but he has used, much like Obama, it is a trickle down. It's like people keep building on this. He's used Twitter to basically not be at the mercy, and I'm positive, because I speak to a lot of athletes all the time, this beauty of going direct to consumer is incredible. I think what it's a much bigger version of is baseball has a very good history of looking the other way and then blaming its players on some shit that they always understood.
For sure.
And to me,
we know it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't get over Mike Trout. I would rip both my arms off to have my daughter marry somebody like Mike Trout as a human.
Me too. And I have two
both of them.
I love him.
Literally rip them both off my fucking body right now for a guy like Mike. By the way, I'm talking about as a human, not as a rich baseball player.
Right.
As a human. And you're going to throw that man under the bus because he's not the most extroverted?
Right.
Instead of talking about the fact that you guys have taken the money off the table at the detriment of the long-term value of the sport? Fuck you.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, Alex, you tell me. I mean, if you're in a clubhouse with 25 guys, 40 guys, and one person is going off on Twitter and takes away the spotlight from everyone else, don't you feel the pressure from the rest of the team? Whereas the NBA, obviously, the NBA is a players' league. The NBA, guys,
right there.
They get to say whatever they want.
You answered the question,
right,
my man.
But is it?
Of course, in one guy doing that in a system that doesn't support it, yes. But if the system supported it.
But here's where I think people get lost because they always compare everything to the NBA. And the NBA is different because the NBA, there's 5 guys on the court. There's 12 guys on a team, whatever.
Yep.
Baseball, you have a huge clubhouse. Football's the same way. Football, guys aren't as outspoken because there are 53 guys in that locker room. So to you, Alex, like if you're in a clubhouse and one guy is taking attention away by speaking his mind on Twitter, does that now become a deal? Do people now say, hey, cut that out? Like, you're here with the team. You can't be like that.
There's no question that baseball is probably the most judgmental sport. There's more China walls, is more of an institution where it's closer to golf than basketball. And in 2017, 2018, 2019, that's not good. But I will say this. I think while it's a $10 billion industry today, NBA's gone to 16. I mean, they've blown past us. People don't know this. There's a $1 billion business, a $4 billion business in China. There's over 100 people. Gary, just like you have hundreds of people here, NBA has that in China, and they've been there for a long time. Kobe was there. Yao Ming was there. But here is where I believe Major League Baseball is leaving the most money on the table. If they left McKinsey and they left Bain and they said, let's go hire Gary and Alex to be consultants, here would be my first advice. And this is free advice because I love the game and I want the game to grow. Everyone says baseball's too long. We've all heard that. Mm-hmm. Baseball season's too long. Spring training is too long. The baseball games are 3.5 hours. Talking about reverse engineering that, Gary, how about this? Let's use our journey, our marathon season, for a strength, not for a weakness. What does that mean? We have the greatest content in the world. Because we're long, we have unlimited content. So instead of, let's just say, BAM, doing that, we just say, hey, how about you have kids, you will have kids, I have kids. If my daughter or my son wants to not watch a 3-hour game, I get that. But here's what they do want to watch. I guarantee it, and listeners will want to watch this too. And the folks listening, I want to know, raise your hands if you're in or you're out. 4 to 7 p.m. every day, I go Yankees.com, You go Jets.com, not Jets, Mets or whoever you want,
was
and
a
you go
Yankee fan.
Cubs.
Whatever loser
I'm a
you're
Yankee
rooting for,
fan.
Gary.
I press a button, and I have 30 stadiums. There's 60 batting cages. Okay, so you go to Yankee Stadium, you got a visitor, and you got a home. There's 2 batting cages. Those are hot, starting at 4 to 7. So for me, I'm an enormous Aaron Judge fan. Giancarlo Stanton. I can just go to Yankees and go boom. Look, Dad. Oh my God. Oh, hey, wow. He's using the T, Dad. Oh, now he's doing soft toss. Dad, why is he doing this? What person in the world for 5 minutes is not going to watch Mike Trout every day, Bryce Harper every day? And by the way, the other question is, would you pay $5.99 a month for this?
Or,
damn right you will.
Or if you guess 5 pitches in a row, that if it's a home run or not, because that's it, A-B, home run or not in batting practice, do you win a discount on tickets or get to go into the stadium? Oh, by the way, when the team already knows it has 17,000 empty seats. So if I live within a 40-mile radius and I watch Lindor and I guess for 5 minutes, homer, no, homer, yes, no, and I win, that I could go to the game on a free ticket. Better than having an empty seat, I get the concessions. Alex, what you're talking about is storytelling. Guys, boxing was dead in this country, and then they decided to make 24/7, and fucking Floyd made $1 billion on the back of it because my wife watched the Marquez Pacquiao 24/7, and she's like, oh, Marquez's kids are cute.
Right.
This is storytelling. Vince McMahon makes fucking guys who are acting out a sport compelling to us through storytelling. You're telling me that Major League Baseball can't, whether it is the batting practice, whether it's the grumpy old coach, whether it's the groundskeeper's documentary of being there for 71 years, what you're talking about is very simply one thing: storytelling. You know, the way the world has always worked. The reason there's even religion, if you really want to go there, and you can get as upset with me or not as you want. It is storytelling. Baseball does none of it. It suffocates it for short-term clicks of 5 cents a fucking pre-roll, and we have no clue all these ridiculous stories. Do you understand that if we made a micro movie right now of Jim Abbott, do you know how many people... Jim Abbott.
Yeah.
Jim Abbott hasn't been in the league in 20 fucking plus years. The man had one arm. He played in the league. If we did a 7-minute bio, a mini doc on Jim Abbott and ran Facebook ads against people that were, like into nonprofits or things that we are not telling stories, whether it, and that's the bottom line. Baseball has completely punted digital storytelling for short-term economics, and it will feel the pain of that.
Gary, the other thing is, if you don't have this, because obviously this doesn't exist, here's the other part is, if you now drive 2 hours to come to Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium or Citi Field, guess what? You can't watch Aaron Judge hit, because by the time you get in, he's already done.
Yeah.
So there's all these things that Hall of Fame is the greatest week in the world. I want to see who are the cool people? I have no idea. Selena Gomez, Pitbull, Katy Perry. Every day should be a big event. Big event.
Couldn't agree more. And by the way, what about the fact that when you're following these players, baseball doesn't have a culture of allowing you to follow? For example, what about when the game's over? Let me tell you about another sport that's going to pass baseball: esports. What about the fact that at 12:04 after the game on the West Coast or the East Coast or wherever, however you want to play it, the fact, many of these young 22-year-old, 23-year-olds, after they're done with their, the game, showered, all this, if we had access to watch them play Fortnite, how many of our favorite, I want to watch Andrew McCutchen play Fortnite. So does every Pirates fan.
If I was a
and Giants fan.
If I was a Kansas City Royals or Tampa Bay, kind of a struggling somewhat, I would go and find the hottest esports team, do a partnerships. And it'll be Super Saturday, meaning the game starts at 1, 100%. Baseball, and from 5 p.m. to noon in the stadium is esports, and that's the partnership.
But hold on. So I like all these ideas, but it kind of goes back to my original point of a player goes on Fortnite after and they talk shit to some, young kid or something. Now that's a story tomorrow.
Yep.
So the way the
and the old
culture
middle reliever old middle reliever comes in and says, "Hey, kid, shut your fucking mouth."
Not even that. The media picks up on it, and now there's blog posts, and now you have to deal with walking into the clubhouse and says, "What's going on here?"
By the way, Kat, you're talking about what matters.
Yeah.
Baseball is not creating. You walked around this office, right? Yeah. I'd like to think, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I have a funny feeling across your mind of some degree of something of like, hey, it seems like people like working here.
Yeah.
I've created the 4 walls of safety and culture to make people like it. A lot of buildings, all these fancy buildings, you walk in and it's like Death City because people hate where they work. You're 100% right. Major League Baseball's responsibility, not Mike Trout's responsibility, is to create a culture of supporting their players. Supporting their players.
Yeah.
And that is not what we have.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the steroids thing pisses me off to no end.
Yep.
Baseball knew everything that was fucking going on. And then as soon as it fucking went down, they threw those 20 guys under the fucking bus, period. And it goes on and on. Betting, I don't even want to get into the Pete Rose point of view I have on that. Like, they absolutely take the people that fucking bled out of their fucking dick for the sport and then throw them under the mat.
Yeah.
And that is going to play out. They have to change this culture.
See, I think I agree with you, and everything you're saying makes sense, but I just think baseball is such a hard sport.
Well, good.
And you know it, Alex. Like, you fail 2/3 of the time and you're in the Hall of Fame. So even just a little extra added pressure. Whereas a LeBron James, LeBron James is not going to all of a sudden just stop being great at basketball, whereas a hitter goes through a 3-week slump. Is he going to want to play Fortnite when he's
but guess
when
what?
he can't hit anything?
Create a culture where he can make that decision.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not listen. The 1982 NBA Finals was on tape delay. In the late 1970s, that league was about a drug league. It was a super racist kind of undertone. Like, nobody gave a fuck about the NBA. What happened was they treated Jordan, Bird, and Magic like Hulk Hogan. They made them heroes, and they support. Michael Jordan was suspended from the NBA. Michael Jordan was suspended from the NBA.
He wanted to see if he could dominate baseball as well as
Get the
basketball.
fuck out of here, Cat.
That's
You don't.
really
I
what
know you
happened.
don't believe that.
Yeah,
You're
no, that
way
was
too
he was
smart.
like, I'm sick of beating the shit out of
Yeah,
everyone
right.
here. Let me go see if
That's
I can
exactly
be awesome
which
at
is why he
baseball.
came back, and then he came back again.
Well, then
he was
yeah,
so
then he was
sick
like,
of it.
you know what?
Here's the bottom
I'll
line.
save the NBA.
Michael Jordan was suspended from the NBA for being a hardcore gambler, and they protected him. That is the difference between the NBA and Stern and Silver and Major League Baseball.
No, I don't disagree on
Here,
that.
Well,
here's how you fix MLB baseball.
That's real talk, by the way.
Yeah, no, I don't
Clip
disagree.
that shit.
They need to, instead of doing the Trout stuff, you're right.